Joining me live for more on this, Nigel, Phair, Enterprise Director with UNSW's Institute for Cybersecurity. Thanks for your time. So much to wade through here. Why don't we start on the passports? Do we need to just assume the worst and replace all the passports? Because the system's already clogged. That's what, 2.8 million? Or is it just the ones we know that have been leaked?
I think we need to just concentrate on the 10,000 that have had their details put on the dark web. So we've started off with 9.8 million. Optus said there was about 2.1 million that were really susceptible. Then we drill that down to the 10,000. They're the cohort of people we really need to be contacting individually and working out what data has actually been lost. Has there been any transaction? And what we can do to help those people.
But the rest of them, aren't they just a ticking time bomb for that data to be released as well?
Well, potentially, and we don't know. We've had the attacker saying that they're not going to release any more. Of course, you don't go believing criminals in anything.
Well, because one of the things was September 17, apparently there are dark web spotters, I'm not one, just in case our authorities are out there, saw Optus customer data on the dark web on September 17.
But the dark web has got lots of data about lots of different, or purporting to have lots of different things. One of the entries, because this information has now been reshared by other criminals since the original criminal took it back, and there's other entries in data breach posts about other corporates in Australia that have got hundreds of thousands of pieces of data available too.
Okay. So from what we know, this hacker got the data, asked for $1 million, did a 10,000 dump, and then allegedly just deleted it and said, sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't ring true, does it?
No. So are we thinking this could be just someone who bought maybe a lot of 10,000 of them and now is pretending to be the main hacker, and the main hacker or group is still sitting there?
Yeah, there's lots of really good questions around that. The only believable partiality is if the original hacker was really amateurish, because $1 million is not.
Well, that's the strangest part of it, right?
It's not very much to ask for.
So is the most likely theory there is a more organised group that's done it. This hacker's maybe bought a parcel of 10,000 or somehow got a parcel of 10,000, pretends to be the main one, asks for $1 million and then says, I'm in over my head here, the FBI's on my tail.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty plausible reason. If you've got 9.8 million records, you're going to hang on to them, you're going to monetise that big time.
Optus initially wouldn't say if the data was encrypted, now it's saying it was. What do you make of that? I mean, if this data was encrypted, is it plausible that it's just available now in the non-encrypted form?
Well, if it was good encryption, it wouldn't be able to be unencrypted without the proper keys. And the information that's on the dark web, the 10,000, is definitely unencrypted. There's a lot of gobbledygook there. You need software to look at it. It's not like just looking at an Excel file or a notepad file. But there's scrambling of information, you know, postcodes, addresses, dates of birth, those sorts of things.
So if this was well encrypted, simply put, it wouldn't be able to be unencrypted. So maybe it was encrypted poorly or a key was left out.
Well, or parts of it were encrypted and we're seeing the 10,000 that weren't encrypted, for example. Okay.
And what about when we look at, Optus and what they've done, we'll find out a bit more. What about the government? The Data Retention Act is being mentioned now. Was that a mistake?
Well, I think...
Making companies hold onto the data, I should explain for our viewers.
Yes. So there's various mechanisms of why organisations have to keep data. So you've got the Data Retention Act, 2 years. You've got anti-money laundering through AUSTRAC, which requires some data to be kept for 7 years.
And this is to make sure the people doing whatever they're doing are those people. You keep their IDs. Is the argument now just verify them properly and then either encrypt the data or don't keep it at all?
Well, when you look at law enforcement, a key part of their investigations is working out who owns a telecommunications service.
Right.
It's a basic principle of 101 of law enforcement investigations. So they want to have access to the data and they want that data to be good.
Okay.
But by the same token, if you're getting a phone service, once they've got details enough to prove who you are, do they really need to keep that?
So the argument is, if you want to keep it, at least encrypt it. So if you're going to bring in a big mean Data Retention Act, make sure they encrypt it and encrypt it well, and then this wouldn't be happening. Is that fair to say?
And then I think move it offline would be the next thing. The greatest way of not to have it accessible to the internet.
All right. Nigel, Phair, great to get your time as usual.